Starting with number 90 something. Man, I thought those A and B, like find A, find B tangent lines were gross, but maybe we're okay. For number 96, remember that you had to use that equation up above. I don't need to take a picture of it because I kind of have it memorized. It's a thing. It came from physics stuff, but anyway, we need to use that or else you're going to be stuck. But number 96, a ball is thrown straight down, not dropped. That means there is an initial velocity. Sorry, slurred my words there. There is an initial velocity. A ball is thrown straight down to the top of the 220 feet building. Initial velocity of 22 feet per second. We're supposed to be just solving, I think, right? Whatever they're asking for. For those of you guys just joining us, sorry, you did not get any of the intro. Basically, go Mabe, pray for everybody struggling, and coffee due by Monday. And we're doing homework questions, and if you're bored with this, then go do section 2.3 homework. Long story short, could have done that in 30 seconds. All right, so 15 minutes later, a ball is thrown straight down from. We have our initial velocity being, it's blue, negative 22 feet per second. We have our initial height, remember, position, initial position, being 220 feet in the air. If you make the top of the building, or I should say the ground, 0. And it's being thrown down. What is its velocity? Ooh, I love to state sentences in mathematical notation where I know what to do. I want to find v of 3. What is its velocity after falling 108 feet? Well, if I fall 108 feet, oh yeah, this is the tricky one. How high am I off the ground? We'll have to do 220 minus 108 to get 112. So the position after, and this should, I know, my scale is off. It should be like, a little bit right there. But if I've fallen 108 feet, I'm 112 feet off the ground based on my 220-foot building. So then I'm going to want to know the velocity when position is 112. This is my first objective. This is my second objective. And to do both of those objectives, I need velocity, and I can't do velocity until I figure out my position from the directions. So the directions, is this feet? Yeah. Should be negative 16t squared plus my initial velocity is negative 22, plugging into my formula, plus my initial position is 220. That's plugging in the clues to the directions where it showed me the general form for a free fall model on Earth with gravity acting on it. So, velocity, how do I find velocity? Guys, you took a forever quiz yesterday. I want to do ds dt, I want to do the derivative of position, right? So it's as easy as? Good? Not average velocity. Just the normal, like, instantaneous velocity. Okay, so then in letter A, all I need to do is plug in 3. So then we do v of 3 is equal to negative 32 times 3. You're going to see 6 to the madness in its glory because all I'm going to do is say feet per second, put a parenthesis and say 10. Put it in your calculator, check with the back of the book, you should be fine. Letter B is harder. Letter B is harder because letter B says after falling 108 feet. So have they given me the time that this is true, or is this a separate question? Separate question because it's a separate question mark. 3 seconds was one part, but then there's a separate question about 108 feet. So I can do this whole fall on 108. It's 112 off the ground using the 220 as my model. I'm going to have to go ahead and take my position function and set it equal to 112. And guys, this is something the AP loves to do. It loves to tell you something about, hey, figure out when something equals something else. Now, if you had your calculator, we could graph this one, y1, graph that one, y2, and find the intersection. And when we get to harder problems, I'll show you another way of doing it. But actually, to be honest, I think this was a do-it-by-hand one with a nice, neat answer. So the other way we could do it is the good old-fashioned subtract 112 on both sides, which I think is what the book did too. We can pull out because everything's going to be even. Ooh, only a 2? Well, that's lame. And we get 8t squared minus 11t. That ended up being 108 divided by 2 would be 54, I think.
Well, if you try to negative 2, wouldn't it be plus 11t?
Oh, thank you, John. Good eye. That would be plus 11t. If you do the modified x method, you're about to be really, 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 really sad because you have to multiply 8 times 54 and find all the factors. If you learn guess and check, which is my preferred method, it's not too bad because there's only so many ways to make 54. 1 and 54, 54 and 1, 6 and 9, or 9 and 6 are my preferred ones. I guess it could be 2 and 27 or something like that. So maybe you could start playing around with that. Like in my head right now, I'm thinking of 8 and 1, and I'm thinking of 2 and 4, and I'm thinking of all the different possible combinations. Do I really want to do this? We're gonna have the homework due Tuesday. Let's be honest. I just need to be honest with myself. Okay. Can I just take a quick time out? Can we just talk about factoring for one hot sec? Because I didn't have all of you in pre-cal. Okay. With factoring, we have some options with factoring when we have something gross like this. Because to be honest, guys, as much as you don't want this to be true, this would have been a non-calculator problem. Because the factors are nice and even and not decimal answers. So the dilemma is, what if you know exactly what to do, but you can't actually do it because you don't know how to factor nasty stuff? Does that make sense? So I'm taking a time out just because it's important in context of the AP, and we're already going to bump everything a day anyway. And we only have 3 questions. 8t squared, 11t, 54. You guys get me on this. What was it? 8t squared plus 11t plus 54? Is that right? No, minus 54. Because I pulled out a negative 2. Ugh, I messed up both. Struggle. Thanks, John, for catching me on the phone. I just didn't catch myself. That's a positive. I pulled out a negative. All right, all better. Okay. My way. I like, because even though it's nasty, I don't have to actually do 8 times 54 at any point in time. And some of you aren't scared of multiplication and aren't scared of figuring out all the factors in your head of 8 times 54. Like, it wouldn't be that hard necessarily to do the modified x, because that's 32. Carry the 3, that's 432. But do you realize how many factors of 432 there are? Now, if you thought of something like 20 times 20 is 400, you might be able to jump to 2 factors that are only 11 apart kind of fast. Like, maybe you could do that. But guess and check, it's like you just pick something and go for it. And so you say something like 8t and t to make this guy. And then you think of like 54 and 1, thinking of your outer and your inner. 54 times 8 is not going to help me get to 11. If I had 1 over here and 54, it'd be 8 and 54, still not getting me to 11. So forget the whole 54 thing. We could try like 6 and 9, that'd be 72 and 6, nope. We could try 6 and 9, that'd be 48 and 9, still a nope. Now at that point, I would probably go to 2 and 4. Once again, you don't have to do this. You just can simplify if you're getting overwhelmed by all the different possible factors there. I would try my 6 and 9 again, so that'd be 12 and 36. Close, but no. I'll switch it and do 9 and 6, which would be 18 and 24. 18 and 24 closer, but that's only 6 apart. So then I might start thinking of other factors of 54. So instead of 6 and 9, it could be what, 3 and 18? So if I did 3 and 18, 24 and 18, no, that's not going to help. If I did 3 and 18, 18 and 2 is 36 and 12. Dang, we might get some check sucks too. 6, 9, 4, 8. Is this not a nice one? I thought it was. Let me go this way instead. Maybe this is not the greatest time to be showing you guess and check. 20 doesn't go in. 16. 1, 2. 16 go? close. That's 9. It would be 17, sorry. Not 17. It'd be, oh, no, this is good. This is good, because it goes in 27 times. Double check me. Is it 16 and 27? 16 goes in 2 times. That's 32. That's 11. That's 112. 112. Ugh. Okay, so what was I missing? That's gross. 6 and 9. 3. I'll figure it out. It's got to be 11. And that was my minus. Okay, if you know how to do grouping, you would group at this point. If you don't know how to grouping, there are 2 other methods. One method is to go ahead and do your 8t squared there, your negative 54 there. You can put in your negative 16 as a t and your 27 as a t. And all you have to do is factor out what's in common. So what's in common this way is literally just a t. What's in common this way is a 2. Oh, nasty. It was 2 and 27. That's lame. I didn't even check that one. I was just doing 6 and 9. Alright. It was an 8t and a t, and then it was a 27 and a 2. Now I see it. Nope. It was the other ones. Because 2 and 8 make 16 and then 27. Ah! We did this fail. I don't know. I drank my coffee this morning. I finished it before I got to school. I can't keep drinking. This way would be an 8t, right? And this way would be 27. There we go. So we have our t plus 2 and our 8t. Oh, plot a negative 2. Sorry. There you go. T minus 2 and an 8t plus 27. The other way is you could do the star, which is you do your modified x, and then you write the leading coefficient on top, which is an 8 and an 8. You reduce if you can, which is a 1 and a 2, and you reduce if you can, which is not at all. And these are always your variable term, and these are always your constant term, so 1t minus 2 and 8t plus 27. There are shortcuts that you still have to do for either of these. You have to do the modified x method, but there are ways of not grouping them. You'll probably see me from time to time show these again. I've been doing them in pre-cal, so if it's something where you're like, yeah, I've never been good at factoring, you should check out the videos of pre-cal, not honors. I didn't really teach it well in honors, but in pre-cal in the last couple of days, and you can review your factoring. But anyway, long story short, we needed a positive 27 and negative 16. Blah!
That was fun.
That was gross. I had to choose like the worst one ever to use as my example. But coming back, we end up with an 8t plus 27 and a t minus 2. At which point we would try to find the zeros, and to find the zeros we get t is equal to negative 27 over, heck no! Why am I going for the 2? It's the only one that makes sense, right? What was going on at negative 27 8 seconds? Well, you were holding the ball, or you were walking up the stairs to throw the ball, or whatever it is that you were doing. The ball wasn't in motion yet. So 2 seconds has to be my t, but what are they asking for in part 2? They're asking for the velocity when. So I figured out the when, t equals 2. Now it's time to plug it in. So therefore, for letter B, all we got to do is come back to our nifty velocity function and say v of 2 is equal to negative 32 times 2 minus 22 feet per second, because we always label stuff because we're cool like that, and then we're done. We're making that far more tedious than it probably needs. But come on, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Who would see that and go to your calculator or give up?
Not give up.
Okay, not give up. Who would go to your calculator?
It won't go in your calculator.
Who, if you didn't have a calculator and this was on a test, would be like, I'm skipping it and coming back? Like, let's be honest. Like, this is a nasty factoring problem, right?
I would skip it.
You just skip it entirely. You're like, nope. Come on. Grit, perseverance, all that stuff. All right. Hopefully number 99 is better. For those of you guys working on homework, you're getting lots of time. Anyway, what's number 99? It's one of the sketchy ones. If you were in physics with Mrs. Leon this year, graphing, position, velocity, and I'm not sure if acceleration's been a big deal, but it was a big deal there for a while at the beginning of physics this year. We're not in physics, but we still need to think about, forget him because we're looking at him because he's the circled one. We still need to think about graphs just a little bit. So this is position, which would be like S of t. You can see the S right here. And we're supposed to be sketching velocity. Velocity. So velocity, how is velocity related to position? Yes, we have three main concepts. BC kids, I've been hearing them teach AB kids about motion. There are three main concepts in motion. Position, velocity, acceleration. Velocity is the first derivative of position. Acceleration is the first derivative of velocity. As you go down, it's a rate, which means a derivative, and a rate, which means a derivative. But to get from acceleration from position, it's the rate of the rate or the second derivative. Anyway, velocity is S prime, aka the graph of the derivative of the dude that I have. What's a verbal description of a derivative? You guys were studying your forever cards. Who is the derivative? Slope of the tangent line, slope of the graph, or the instantaneous rate, right? So what am I thinking about over there is slopes. Does this all make sense? Velocity is S prime, which means the derivative, which means the slopes. Okay. So if I'm graphing velocity, then I'm going to use the exact same grid, and technically you could have done it in a different color on the grid itself because you were supposed to sketch this anyway because it's the given problem information. So what if I change my colors? Well, this one's black, this one will be blue. Okay, there we go. Let's just get rid of that. And I'll say that the blue is the velocity. All right, what is the slope here? Easy, rise over run. Up 2 over 4. Isn't the slope 1/2?
Yes.
So 1/2 means I go up, well that's going to be 1, so then 1/2. Wait, isn't the slope 1/2 that entire time? No. So the y value of the velocity is 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, because the slope is 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, 1/2. So it's a constant velocity, it's a constant slope. I could write the equation of this line and m would equal 1/2, so I just say, oh, 1/2. Y equals, or v equals 1/2 is a flat line. But why am I putting a hole at 4? What kind of point is this? What kind of turn? Not smooth, but sharp. Do the slopes agree from either direction as I come towards 2? No, and derivative is a limit, right? So the limits need to, the slopes need to agree, and if they don't agree, every sharp point, remember the connection between continuous and differentiable? You guys know I had a forever quiz yesterday. Continuous and differentiable. If I have a sharp point, it's continuous, but it's not differentiable. I have to put a hole on the derivative. Now, what is the slope right after, the instant after 4 seconds? Zero, because it's flat. So all of a sudden I drop down to 0. And I say, oh, now it's flat, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then I start going, apple. And now what's the slope? Well, now I go up, oh, I don't even know. Oh, there you go, up 4 over 4. Oh, well, up 4 over 4, now it's going to be a slope of 1. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And technically, they don't tell me anything about the other side, so the definition of continuous as I just come from the left, well, it's all in agreement, so I guess I can close that one. And then this one, there's nothing on the other side to be a sharp point too, or to make it not exist. I guess there's going to be a slope of that one too. But at every sharp turn, I have to put or make the derivative be any, because it doesn't exist, because the limit wouldn't agree of the slopes. At the endpoints, because of that old definition of continuous on a closed interval thing, I can put endpoints. You guys just get there are a lot of different concepts in graphing this thing. There's a connection between continuous and differentiable. There's the card or the concept that has to do with continuous on a closed interval. There's the idea that velocity is the derivative of position, and then there's the definition of derivative that says derivative are slopes of. Was it a nasty problem? Yes. But do you see how constant slope, constant slope, constant slope, constant rate, constant rate, constant rate for each of these linear pieces? Okay, last question is number 110. Number 110 is, I don't think on this page. Is he a word problem? Oh, he's a cute little piecewise dude. He's the nasty one from section 22A. Adam, this is one of the ones you were working on the board, right? The AB one? Oh, they're fractions! Wait, A equals B equals... Oh, that's the answer. Sorry, my book gives the answer, Lociento. I was like, oh, that's nice. They gave you... Wait, what? Okay. They didn't give you that. But the answers are fractions, which explains why even if you knew what you were doing. Okay. Right now, according to our forever cards, if I say the word differentiable, what should you guys be thinking? Continuous, right? Okay, so if I say the word differentiable, you should be thinking the word continuous. Has to be continuous first. Has to be continuous first. In order to be differentiable, it has to be continuous. And then it has to be a special type of continuous. So, continuous first. And then I have to have a smooth, just to think about it, transition second. Continuous first, a smooth transition second. I know a cubic and I know a quadratic, and neither of them have a vertical tangent. So right away I'm like, the only possible problem is if two pieces, they're going to be smooth turns everywhere else, but it might come in sharp. So I thought about the two ways that continuous might be bad, sharp points and vertical tangent lines, and I was like, neither of them will have vertical tangent lines based on what I know what they look like. But they might have a sharp transition, a sharp point. So continuous first. In the olden days, in chapter 1, when we talked about a piecewise function and continuity, didn't we have to approach from below and above and make sure they match? And the shortcut way of saying that, without going too crazy, is I have to come from below to in the below piece. And that has to be equal, for continuous, to the above piece. So technically that has to equal f of 2. But the nice thing is f of 2 is the exact same thing as the below. So both of these are going to be one answer, so it equals 2. How do I take a limit again? All I have to do is plug it in, plug it in. So 2 cubed is 8, and I have 8a. Plug it in, 4 plus b. Yay! It's not as easy as chapter 1 because there are 2 variables. But that's okay, because I have another clue. This will get me one equation. Check. I need to get my second equation. My second equation says it's not just continuous, it also has to be differentiable, aka the derivative has to exist. And for the derivative to exist, I need to take the derivative of one piece and say, hey, what are your slopes doing? The derivative of the other piece, hey, what are your slopes doing? And I need to think about how x is approaching 2 from below here, because it's the less than, and x is approaching 2 from above here. Yes, I could put less than, yes, I could put greater than, but I can't put or equal to unless I know that they are going to, the slopes are going to match, are going to agree. Wait a minute, I'm making it differentiable. I'm making it work. Oh, well, if it's going to work, I guess I could go ahead and do less than or equal to, including the equal to, greater than. Anyway, how do I take a, okay, here's the deal. The derivative has to be continuous also. To be differentiable, the derivative has to be continuous also. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I did before. I'm just going to do it to the derivative instead of to the original. And then, how do I take a limit? Plug it in, 4 and 3 is 12. How do I take a limit? Plug it in. P.S. These two coincide anyway. 2 times 2 is 4. Ha-ha! A is equal to 3. And as soon as you find 1, you come over here and then you plug it in. And here's the nasty part. What did I do wrong?
Where's the B in this? Where's the A?
Well, there is no b because the derivative of any constant is a 0. But I'm making this a lot nicer and a lot prettier than they got. Oh, duh! Why is there one like loud exclamations of horrible math that just happened on the board at the very right?
So all 5 animals.
You divide by 12! Not divide by 4. My brain wanted an easy answer, even though it's not. I mean, it's not hard. Like, how easy is this? Does your brain ever want an easy answer and so it does something that it shouldn't? over here. 4 plus a third. Hey guys, don't get stuck at the last step. Keep pushing all the way to the end. Keep showing your work. If I had just done divided by 12, divided by 12, I would have been fine, wouldn't I? If I'd actually shown my work, I wouldn't have messed that up, right? Don't get lazy again.
Why is the 1/3
Because I'm silly and I was talking and trying to prove a point over there if I'm multitasking. Yes, multitasking, don't text and drive. Okay, so 8 times 1/3. Multitasking is dangerous. Then I have 8 over 3. Why am I going to change this to be 12 over 3? Change any of your whole numbers to common denominators to make your life easy. Subtract, get b is equal to negative 4. Dun, 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 dun. Be a friend, be a pal, be a good co-worker. And if you see a mistake, call it out right away. Cool? I know some of you guys aren't paying attention, but 4 divided by 12 is 1/3. Plugging in 1/3, be careful with your fractions and get that common denominator, because common denominators make the world go round. I mean, make math a little bit easier. Make it 12/3 and everything's nice. Alright, cool kids, those are all the homework questions. Let's go play with product quotient rule just a little bit. Some of you guys have already started homework, and as you started homework, maybe you got a little bit stuck. Maybe not. This is where we ended yesterday. I showed you this is how you plug into the quotient rule. But the problem is I didn't show you how to finish the quotient rule. I showed you how to plug into the quotient rule, but I didn't tell you how to finish the quotient rule. Why? Do you know how I just reviewed factoring a second ago? And we just talked about fractions, like adding and subtracting. And we just talked about how, like, solving a simple algebraic expression, sometimes you can make a mistake on. Right? The calculus teacher can solve 12a equals 4 without making a mistake. Just be careful. Why do you think I'm going to actually erase those 3 dots and have us finish that problem? Because some of you would screw it up. It is what it is. It's how it works. Because some of your foundational math skills, if you haven't realized yet, I am calling it out because it's true, are weak. And that's not a horrible thing. Ironically, some people master their algebra in calculus because you've got to figure it out or else you're going to make a lot of bad matches. They're factoring, they're simplifying, they're distributing, they're simplifying of fractions. Do you realize that some people in this class and in period 6 and in calculus classes in the past would have started by crossing off stuff saying, yay, I see stuff that I can get rid of. Let's get rid of him, and let's get rid of him, and then those just go to 0, and then I get...
I've just seen so many things die.
Mostly kittens. They're the ones most... the kittens and seals. Because kittens are when you just start randomly crossing stuff out without factoring. Ugh. The poor kitten population of the world is in danger every time one of these comes up. Meaning, that was all horribly illegal. Horribly illegal. Because of this, if you don't know why, subtraction. This subtraction says no simplifying right now.
Right.
So what do we do instead? We have options.
I solved it.
How many of you guys right now would think factoring versus multiplying? We have 2 options, either distribute or factor. Who would think distribute? Who would think factor? Okay. Eventually we're going to have to think factor, but today I'm not going to make that point. So, distribute, it is. It's legal, it's okay. But please, 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 save the seals. 2x cubed plus 2x minus 2x cubed plus 2x. Not minus. Save the seals. This little negative has to distribute to both. That's a negative, that's a positive. And if you can't do 2 things at once, get your 2x in there in parentheses, then distribute your negative. Then I have my x squared plus 1 all over squared. My 2x cubes go away, my 2x and 2x makes 4x, and I am done, 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 done. Nothing else that you can do. Oh, but I can factor. Don't you dare. X squared plus 1, if I try to get zeros, are imaginary numbers. I cannot. Okay. I say it because I care. I don't want you to miss silly points by doing silly stuff. But silly stuff that, come on, I couldn't solve 12 equals 4. That we all make mistakes on sometimes. But some of you, it's not just from time to time, it's that there are actual rules that are not ingrained into your head. If you see a minus, if you see a plus, don't you dare go crossing stuff out. And so you either distribute or factor. Ready, set? Yes, you don't necessarily have to have it memorized right now. Use your notes. Bottom to top, minus top to bottom, all over the bottom. I should say that, even though it's cute. Bottom to top minus top to bottom, all over bottom square. And if it helps, the box and triangle is something you can do to any problem very quickly. Without redefining, putting commas, writing out like F's and G's. And you say, oh, there's the top, there's the bottom. I'm gonna start playing. Usually I could be more time. Right now, it is what it is. Let's see how it went. Bottom means rewrite. D top means take the derivative. Minus top means rewrite. D bottom means take the derivative. And if you crossed anything out right now, shame on you. Get out a highlighter and a colored pen and say no. Point to the subtraction sign. My options are factor or distribute. I don't see any clear matching factors on top, so I am distributing. Don't kill a seal. Saving turtles but killing seals. Shame on you. Don't distribute that denominator. Guys, don't foil it. You're trying to make it as simple as possible. Keep it all nice and factored. You can pull out a -2. You guys realize I'm just trying to make it match at this point, right? Seeing if there's any further simplifying I can do. I have 20 and 1, which could make 4 and 5, but the problem is 1 would need to be negative, and I don't have an ability of 1 to be negative, 1 to be positive, that to be the same sign. So I get to just stop. But there we go. You might see something in homework. I'm going to show you 2 things, because your job this weekend is to start homework, not to finish it. So here are a couple of homework hints. One of them is if you see something like horizontal tangent line, they're saying when the tangent line is, pretend that's horizontal. What that means is the slope is 0, and isn't the slope just the derivative? Therefore, we can set the derivative equal to 0 and solve. Some of you might come against another algebraic weakness or 2 along those routes, but that's technically all you have to think about whenever you see a horizontal tangent line. And here's the last thing I want you to see. If you're starting homework, you might see trig functions besides sine and cosine come up. You might see trig functions, if I were you get your phones out, you might see trig functions besides sine and cosine come up. Now guys, each of these, like tangent, could be rewritten as a sine over a cosine, and we could do a quotient rule. But all that work for each of these, rewriting them as quotients and actually finding them, each of those actually end us in some really nice rules that you are going to memorize. So take a picture of those more trig derivative rules. I'll show you on Monday where they come from using the quotient rule, but long story short, You don't need to know where they come from. You just need to memorize them and use them. Sound good? Okay, pick a derivative, or you're welcome. Pick a picture of the rules. And I think, to be honest, you could probably do but it's not going to be useful to get a good start on it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want Boston bread nutrition? Come buy it from me from Robin. The Boston bread outside. Doesn't go from Robin. Bye, guys. Do you mind just pausing the video or on the way out the door? So it'll pause them every.